And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Top of the morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Greetings. 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 Welcome. 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 Come on in. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Greetings. Greetings. Welcome. Welcome. Come on in on this 20th day of February. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Good morning, good morning. We got Janine Wilkins out there in Alaska. Demetrius Scott is in the building. John Herricks, Haley Elaine Couch, Jacqueline Harris Solomon. They're in the building. Ingrid Rito, Chrissy Mosby, Sienna Nick. Man, these are going so quickly. I missed that last name. Allende Alcala in the building. Wife Kimberly Kafele is in the building. Stacy Mitchell. No, I missed it. It went so quickly. Michael Benton's in the building. Nicole White, Gail Ramirez, Candace White, Sherry Jones, Steve. Oh man, I messed that up. Cousin Chanel Henry Wright is in the building. Cindy, I said that when I think Mosley Rodney Stanley's in the building. Teresa Thacker is in the building. The names are moving so quick. Superintendent Finch is in the building. Becky Rodriguez, Ton or Tone. I'm not sure which pronunciation that might be. KB is in the building. Lauren Alexis is in the building. Ivy Leaf, Scott Robert, Darius Robertson or Robertson, Principal Sean Hurt is in the building, as well as Kimberly Wilson Daniel in the building. I'm going to talk to you about Sean in a few minutes. Billy Cook is in the building. Maureen Powers is in the building. Anthony Russell's in the building. Hey, folks, as you come in, and some of you don't reveal yourselves. I'm aware of that as well, and that's not a bad thing. I'm not complaining, but some just kind of jump on and watch. So whomever, whether you be folks that reveal your identity or the ones who are just kind of watching, hit that share button. Let them know. Let them know. We got Will Turner, Willie Lanier, Dominique Price, Doomerville, I think it is. Aaron Rhodes, Krista, Dr. Levy Glover is in the building. Year of Leading Dangerously. I like that one. We got Principal Otis Kitchen II in the building. Aaron Rhodes is here. Nancy Ruiz is here. Hit that share button, folks. Let them know. Let them know. We're in week 43. Who would have thought it? This was supposed to be an 18-week journey, and then after that, who knows? But I got hooked. D. Walker's in the building. Stephanie Gooden's in the building. Ashley Miller, Shannon Treese is here, is checked in. Who else we got here? We got Rivers from the Bronx is here. See, she said the Bronx. I hear that. Kevin Freeman is in the building. Got Brenda Watley in the building. Venice Lewis is here. Beth Kelly, principal. Beth Kelly's assistant principal. Beth Kelly, we worked together at Ashland School for a long time. East Orange, New Jersey. Beth Kelly's in the building. Who else we got here? Lisa Moore's in the building. Rodney Richardson is in the building. We got a lot of folks, man. The building, I got a big building for us here, so we could all fit inside under the one roof. So we good. We good. Tyler Gilland is in the building. Angel Long is here. Central Hicks is checked in. Alicia Worthy, Ali is here. Miss Ketching is in the building from East Orange, New Jersey. You know, I always single out East Orange. That's the town that produced me. You know, so Alex Verace is in the building. Jersey is here strong. Hit that share button, somebody. Hit that retweet button. If you know, we're on 4 platforms, so whatever you're on, if you're on my main Facebook page, hit share. If you're on my virtual AP Leadership Academy page, hit share. If you're on Twitter, hit retweet. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, hit share. And if you belong to some of those groups, Black Educators Rock and Principals Leadership and the Principals Desk and all those others, hit that share to them groups. because they got folks on there that don't even know I'm up. They don't even know I'm on and they not up or whatever it is. Terry Burks is in the building. Who else we got here? We got Mrs. Yolanda McKinney in the building. Rasul Wright is in the building. Melissa Allison is in the building. D. Walker is here, checked in the building. We got folks who are here. I can't make this one out. I think it's Ella Ine is in the building. I tried there. So let's see what time is 11 o'clock. Oh, we just about there. Hit that share button. Hit that retweet button. We got my man, Scott Holloman. That's fam. Scott Holloman is in the building. You listen to me, sir. I said, check me out. And there you are. That's Jersey City in the building, right? That's home. Aaron Packer, my man, is in the building. Tammy Hinton's in the building. Let me tell you something, folks. Hit that share button. Hit that retweet button. I'm getting ready to start it up. It's 11 o'clock. In fact, it's 11:01. I went overtime. So let me say formally to you, as I always do, good morning. Greetings. Welcome to the 43rd edition of the Virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy. And as I always say, I don't know about you. I think I know. Just by the fact that you checked in, but I'm gonna speak for me on this one. I don't know about you, but as for me, I'm on fire. Y'all didn't hear me. You didn't hear me. I know you didn't hear me because I wasn't loud enough. Let me just let you know one more time how I feel before I get started. I'm on fire. That's how I'm feeling, somebody. See, as I say it every week, I'm feeling this way because the world, every week I come on here, this is my 43rd consecutive week on here, and crap happened in the world for the past 7 days since the last time I was on here, since the last time I saw a lot of you. Stuff happened, crap happened, right? But I'm still me. I mean, I contend with the stuff. I deal with the stuff. I deal with the virus. I mean, all of it. But I'm still going to be me. It's not going to extinguish my fire, my flame. That's going to be there. So I'm saying that to say to you, your fire, it's got to be there. Somebody better tell me to calm down, because y'all remember the other week I lost my voice. Your fire got to be there. See, mine's going to be there because I got a message to deliver every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern. But your fire's got to be there because you got to take this with you back to school on Monday, or your preparation today, tomorrow, for Monday, and the rest of the week. So you and I both got to bring that fire. So let me get to my message for the morning real quick. My motivational message for today is protecting your purpose. You notice for weeks now, I've been prefacing this with the word protecting. So protecting your purpose. See, it's one thing we've talked about several times in the past about having a purpose. We've talked about finding your purpose. We've talked about walking in your purpose. We've talked about living your purpose. We've had that conversation. In fact, we've exhausted that conversation. But what we did not have is protecting your purpose. See, we ain't talking about that. See, that's something totally different. We talk about protecting your purpose. See, I'm saying this, I keep saying it. Like when we talked about protecting your enthusiasm, right? Protecting your energy, etc. I'm saying to you, your purpose, that's your why. That's your reason. That's your because. That's like your grounding for your existence. Well, I'm saying if your why is all that, you've got to protect it. You've got to guard it. You've got to shield it. You got to keep certain folks out. Like, here's the fence. You got to keep them on the other side, because certain individuals, they come inside your purpose. They may negatively, adversely impact your purpose. See, you can't allow that to happen. See, that's on you. So if you got to protect your purpose, protect your why, because the day you allow stimuli, things out there, circumstances, people, etc., to adversely impact your purpose, then you're no longer showing up in your purpose. You're just showing up. See, there's a fundamental, matter of fact, fundamental is not even strong enough. There's a dramatic difference between showing up and showing up in your purpose. See, you know, like in the church, they talk about how God showed out, right? Well, you can't show out if you're not in your purpose. You could just show up, but you can't show out. See, you got to be in your purpose to be able to show out. I tell you right now, I'm in mine in this moment, in real time, every time I come on here. So you got, so therefore you got to be very conscious of protecting it, shielding it, guarding it, and not letting anything, anyone damage it, puncture it, destroy it, sabotage it, undermine it. You got to walk that narrow path in and through your purpose with complete protection of it. Enough said. My word of the day / word of the week. Do this quickly. Goals. Once again, goals. What I'm talking, GOALS. Goals, right? And I'm saying to you, you cannot do this work effectively. You know, my core audience for this is the assistant principal, but I'm also speaking to the aspiring assistant principal, aspiring principal, but I'm also talking to the principal. I'm also talking to all central office leadership all the way to the superintendent, but I'm also talking to the teacher, but I'm also talking to that person that just checks in on Saturdays and has no interest in any of those positions, just wants to hear this message. So I'm talking to whomever, and I'm saying here, you can't go through life with no goal, forget the word goal, goals, multiple goals, multiplicity of goals, because you got to have them stair-step goals, those short-term goals, right, to get you to the big goals, the long-range goals. So everything you do within your leadership has to be wrapped up in some goals. And when do you set them? Like when we go off this afternoon, when I end this broadcast, assess your goals and determine if you need to adjust some of your goals, right? So assess them and determine if you need to adjust them or if you need to create some new ones. So what's your goal for your preparation today, or your goal for preparation for Sunday, or your goal for the work you do on Monday, the work you do on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? I mean, it's that meticulous, right? It's that short term. It's not just looking at the long range, big picture goal, like what I'm gonna be in 5 years from now, who I'm gonna be in 7 years from. No, it's who you gonna be and what you're gonna accomplish later on today, right? So you write it out. Now I want to get into a whole goal lesson. So y'all got that from some of the older videos. Make sure that you are always walking in short-term goals. The steps. It ain't about taking that leap from the bottom of the escalator all the way to the top, or the bottom of the staircase all the way to the top. That's not going to cut it. You eliminated too many steps, and you needed those steps because each new step becomes a new foundation to get to the next level. But if you skipping steps, all you're going to do, your toes going to get caught up in the bottom, right at the ending of the step, the lip of the step, and you're going to trip and fall flat on your face and then be discouraged because you can't accomplish your goals. No, because you tried to go the shortcut route and it doesn't work. You got to go step by step by step by step. Right? One day I need to share with y'all my story in terms of where I started and where I wound up and where I'm still going, so that you understand it's step by step. Some people turn on these videos or see me live somewhere and think I was born with this, with whatever it is I've accomplished. I ain't born with this. I had to go step. Took years, decades. That's how you got to go at it, right? Enough of that, y'all. Let's go. Let me get these announcements out the way. I'm going over 12. I'm going over 12 o'clock today. I'm gonna let you know that now. I hope that you guys can hang with me. I got so much to say, man, but let me jump into it. Number one, Texas. We got a lot of folks that come on here. They live in Texas. I don't know if they're here today. If you're out there in Texas, let me know. I see my thread, even though I don't say everything that's on the thread. I see every post, right? So if you're out there in Texas right now, holla at me. Let me know. Right? God bless all of you out there in Texas and the surrounding areas. We've been praying for you. the whole week, right? Well wishes the whole week. I know it was tragic. No, not was. It still is, right? These are just horrible times. Just so many different things going on in the country and in the world. So those of you in Tassie, Longview, Shalanda's here. I see Stephen, Wilcott, Adams, man. There's a lot of y'all. See Darrick, man. Y'all see that's man. Aaron's here. I ain't know Aaron. I forgot you in Texas. Look, man, there's a lot of y'all out there. Oh man, listen, man, y'all gonna make me tear up, man. So because I know what you dealing with, and yet you saw as they would say in church, you saw it not robbery, right? To check in today. So that's all I could do. This here and this here, right? I appreciate you guys. It shows me, because it ain't about me. It shows me how committed you are to yourselves. That despite the challenges, that you still checked in on Saturday, because you could easily watch the video later, but you decided, let me just check in live on Saturday. So I appreciate that. I'm trying to bring as much fire and heat as I can, so hopefully, that it lifts your spirits to some extent, just in terms of the energy that I try to exude every Saturday morning. But God bless you all out there in Texas. There's a whole lot of y'all on here, man. Look at that, Brenda and John and man, it's a lot. Stephanie, Monica, so many of you on here. I appreciate you guys, man. Oh my God, Cynthia and Linda, man, it's a lot of Texas folks on here, right? God bless y'all. Appreciate you. Let me keep it moving. Assistant Principal 50. I'm gonna be quick with this because I got a lot to talk about today. These are the two. You guys are keeping these books as bestsellers, top 100 on Amazon literally every week. And all I could do is say thank you for that, right? So those of you that don't have the two books that go with the Academy, get yourself these books, right? I haven't been using either one because I'm in February. I decided to devote the entire February to teaching some of this Black history, particularly on the American side, right? So African-American history. So, but I'll be back on this first week in March. Right. So get yourselves a copy, Amazon, ASCD.org, principalkafele.com, barnesandnoble.com. Subscribe to the Virtual AP Leadership Academy page on Facebook. Subscribe to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Virtual AP Leadership Academy, and hit that share button, including to the groups that you belong to. Lastly, and then I think I can get into my topic, Kim Wilson Daniel, I saw her name on here, so she's back, because a lot of y'all hit me up. Where's the notes? Where's the notes, man? Kim need a vacation, man. Right? So now she's back, and we gonna let it rock. So look here, y'all. I'm gonna go a little over 12 today. Just hang with me, right? So here we go. My topic today. What do I know? 50 things school leaders must know about Black history. And as you know, I'm wearing Black history, right? Every Saturday morning, this is what I wear. I don't wear these during the week. This is what I wear for these broadcasts. The Jacksonville, Florida Red Caps, right? So that's what I'm wearing today. Negro Leagues, Negro League baseball, because Black players were not allowed to play with white players in the major leagues. They played against white players in smaller leagues, but not in the major leagues because they were Black, despite the fact that they had talent that was unimaginable, right? But because they were born Black, we're not permitted to play. We're going to talk a little bit about that in today's lesson, by the way, but I'm not there yet. So have you been checking out the books of the week that I post every day on Facebook and Twitter? Have you been checking them out and maybe even pursuing some of them? I've been leaving some powerful books every day for the entire month of February on my Facebook and Twitter pages. So if you haven't been looking at them, if you haven't been paying attention, go back and scroll my Facebook page. Every day I'm leaving a classic, though, nothing new, all classics that I would recommend that everybody on here, you read some of them. You may not read all 28, right? I mean, it'd be good, but at least some of them, you got to read them. And then I also asked, did you watch the PBS documentary on the Black church? Oh, man. See, this lesson, this 4-part lesson is called What Do I Know? Right? And when we talk about the history of Black children that are in your schools and classrooms, that role of that Black church plays a significant role. It's not just the spiritual component, right? But it's the liberation component, right? And you gotta know the history. You gotta know who these children are. You gotta know what they're a product of. So if you didn't see that Henry Louis Gates PBS special, I understand it's on the PBS website. You can just or the app. You can just watch it anytime. 2 parts, dynamite information. So in terms of where I am here toward closing the achievement gap in schools, I said it for the past 2 weeks. I'm going to say it again today. The infusion of Black history, being culturally responsive, and being culturally relevant. They're unavoidable. They're non-debatable. They just have to. They're the perennial missing component. I used that language last week. The perennial missing component to the work, right? So you gotta know this stuff. You gotta know this information. It takes a lifetime. In fact, I wrote in the blog last week, it takes 3 lifetimes, if not more, to know it all. You can't know it all in a broadcast. You can't know it all in a book. You can't know it all in a year of study. It's just too vast. It's just so much that's out there, right? So, but I'm saying to you, you got to start. And for those of us on the broadcast, because a lot of you have been typing on social media, man, some of this stuff that Principal Kafele been talking about with history, I'd never heard this before, right? Well, I'm gonna give you some more that you maybe never heard today, right? So let it start here for those that may not have that information. So, but on the flip side, or not flip side, but in conjunction with the statement I made about this perennial missing component, is that many are trying to understand social justice, social/racial justice issues of today. But you cannot understand it if you don't have an understanding of the past. Because the past, going back to when Black folks first got to this country, the past feeds into today. You can't fully grasp or understand today, systemic racism today, right? White supremacy as it relates to Black people today. You can't understand that. You can't fathom that. You can't grasp that fully if you don't understand the history that got us here. So for the past several weeks, I dealt with a lot of history, different aspects of history. And then I stopped at some number, which was 19. So I'm on number 20 now. Right? Let me just get my papers right. And I'm calling it 50 things that you should know. But I can't do all 50 in one broadcast. I thought I'd at least do 25 last week, but that's impossible. So we'll see what I can do this week. I'm not going to put a number on it, but I'm going to try to get to number 30 or 31. So what do I know? Every question in terms of Kim Wilson Daniel, who's out there on Twitter at Kim Wilson Daniel, or Facebook at Kimberly Wilson Daniel. I'm starting this off at number 20, or you can start it at number 1, however you want to do it. And every question will be prefaced with, what do I know? Right? So I'm asking you, I got the mirror up. What do I know? What do I know? Right? So what do I know about the founding of the NAACP? That's my first one for today. Hit that share button for me, somebody. Hit that retweet button for me, somebody. Share this to one of them groups or several of those groups out there. Let them know. They need to know this. What do I know about the founding of the NAACP? And there's a plethora of different civil rights organizations that came about over the decades, right? But the NAACP is the oldest and the largest, right? So that's the only one I'm gonna single out, because I'm not doing this in terms of for the purpose of focusing on different organizations and their ideology and their work and so forth. I just wanted to go back to the oldest one. So here you got the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and it was founded in 1909. But the purpose for me bringing it up, because I want to talk to you about why it was founded. I want to talk about the significance, because see, here you are, your school leader. And I did not design these lessons as a history course. That's not what this is. You're a school leader and you need to be informed, because chances are good in your K-12, I don't care if you're Black, white, Latino, Asian, I don't care what you are. Chances are in your school curriculum when you were coming up, most of what I'm covering in these 4 weeks in February, you were not exposed to in K-12. You may have gotten something at the university if you took the courses that would provide it. But K-12, you probably didn't get this, most of it, or it was skimmed over quickly. But you got Black children sitting in the classroom. And you cannot be optimally effective, and they cannot be optimally successful if at some point they're not being exposed to their story, but you being exposed to the story so that you know who it is that you're working with on a daily basis. So here, the founding of the NAACP, it took place in 1909, but there was this specific reason. There was a tipping point, right? Because there were many, it was justifiable to create it before 1909. But in 1908, this was like the last straw. This was the tipping point. Let me just give you the short version of this. In 1908, in Springfield, Illinois, home of Abraham Lincoln, there was they call them race riots, right? But if you look at history carefully, none of these situations that they call race riots were actually race riots. They were race massacres. It's a riot when you got two camps fighting one another, and you know, they're equally going at it one another. But when you talk about one side is destroyed by the other, that's not a riot. That's a massacre. See, but they use the language of riot in your typical history book. So here you had this young man, African American, black, and a white woman alleged that she was assaulted by him. This was in Springfield in 1908, Springfield, Illinois, in 1908. So he was quickly arrested. So he was placed in jail in Springfield, and then another black man who allegedly committed some other crime was also in this jail. So now they're arrested, they're in jail. But a white mob found out that a white person who convened a mob found out they were in this local prison. So this mob came together and they threatened to break into the jail and grab this person out and to lynch him. So the sheriff's department was able to get the restaurant owner, a white restaurant owner, to secretly drive both of them out of town. So they got them out. But someone in the mob found out that they were driven out of town. So the mob was so outraged that they just found two random African Americans, lynched them both. One was age 56 and the other one was age 84. Right? And they lynched them both. And then they went throughout the city just torching black homes and black businesses, because there were some black businesses there, such as saloons, even as far back as 1908. So torching homes. So now with the NAACP, you had a gathering of about 60 people, mostly white liberals, who said, we got to do something. And they came together, convened this meeting, and ultimately in 1909, at this meeting in New York City, they created the NAACP. W.E.B. Du Bois was one of the African Americans. Ida B. Wells Barnett was the other one, right? So it wasn't populated by African Americans. I want to focus on Ida B. Wells for a second. Ida B. Wells, she was this activist, this journalist, who was very focused and consistent during that time throughout her life. And her primary focus was this anti-lynching crusade that she created. So she was just moving about the country, just speaking out against lynching, created a newspaper and devoted most of the editorial to this anti-lynching campaign. Right? Ida B. Wells. There's so much more to learn about it. I'm not going to go deep into it right now because I don't have the time. But the point is to say I want you to learn about her further than what I said. But I want you to understand the origins of the NAACP. See, the NAACP. So therefore, the purpose of it was simply to secure for all people the rights guaranteed by the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments. That was its purpose, right? So the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. The 14th Amendment made African American citizens relative to equal protection under the law. And then the 15th Amendment gave them voting rights, right? So now the NAACP, their purpose is just to ensure that everybody's rights are protected Now that you've got this brand new free population of people who were enslaved generationally for centuries, right? So what do I know about the founding of the NAACP? We may hear of that organization all the time, but not necessarily know where it's rooted, right? Next, what do I know about the Garvey Movement? And I'm going, I'm going chronologically. This some of you may have figured out. What do I know about the Garvey Movement? Man, it's so much to say here. I got like my top shelf up here got like about 10 books just on Garvey alone, right? But let me just encapsulate as best as I can. Garvey, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, as he's called, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, born in St. Ann's Bay, Jamaica, West Indies, right? This man stumbled on a book, and I'm gonna give you the short version because I got too much to cover to do a whole bio on Garvey. He stumbled on a book when he was in Jamaica called Up from Slavery. I bet you some of you read that book, Up from Slavery, written by Booker T. Washington, his autobiography. And he was so intrigued and so inspired by what he read in that book that he was able to make contact with Booker T. Washington, right? So you guys got to know this story. You got to know this information the way that I know it. So he made contact with him and scheduled to meet with him in Tuskegee, Alabama, which is where the school he was president of, as many say founded, and so that's where he was. And the problem was Booker T. Washington died in 1915, the year that Marcus Garvey was coming to meet him, to talk with him, because he was so intrigued by Booker T. Washington's program of agricultural and industrial education. So he wanted to replicate that, like literally worldwide where Black people were. He had that kind of vision. So he comes to America to meet with Washington. He dies in 1915, so he forestalled the visit and came instead in 1916. And long story short, when he came into America in 1916, boy, did he come in with a bang. He created this organization called the Universal Negro Improvement Association. He started having these yearly conventions at Madison Square Garden in New York City, 20,000 strong, and packed them every year. But then with the Universal Negro Improvement Association, he created various things that emanated out of that. First, he had branch offices all over the world, over 1,000 different branch offices, particularly in the U.S., the Caribbean, Central America, Canada, and in different parts of Africa. He created what was called the Black Star Line. If you ever look at the Ghana flag, that black star in the middle is in tribute to this Black Star Line, which was a shipping line. It was unsuccessful, but there are wins within the line, which, we're not going to get into that specificity right now, right? So, but four ships in order to trade goods with other countries, right? So he's trying to build this whole self-sufficiency, self-determination amongst Black people in the 1920s, right? The largest movement of Black people in the history of America, including the ones that are more contemporary in the 60s and up to now. Then he also created what was called the Negro Factories Corporation, which in this case, manufacturing. He wasn't just about selling of goods and services that were produced by others. He wanted to manufacture, right? So they used to have these big parades, and they wore these very exquisite uniforms, right? Well, the Factories Corporation created the uniforms, right? They created the uniform, the regalia, everything, the hats that they wore, right? Then he had the restaurants, the supermarkets, all in Harlem. And then he had the Negro World newspaper, right? A newspaper that peaked at 200,000 copies. Now, remember, this is not in the age of the internet. This is in the age of the 1920s, a paper that had a reach of the Caribbean, Canada, Central America, all over Africa. And in certain parts of Africa, if you were caught reading it, they'll kill you, right? So because the information was that powerful. Ultimately, the same FBI that set up a counterintelligence program against civil rights organizations under J. Edgar Hoover in the 60s had done the same. The same J. Edgar Hoover had railroaded Marcus Garvey in the 20s. The same person. So had him arrested for mail fraud in 1923, convicted in 1925, and then sent back to Jamaica in 1927, right? So just wanted to give you that. He's also known as the one that created the red, black, and green flag. So if you see that flag and you wonder its origins, Marcus Garvey, right? Whole lot of information. I'm just saying, as a school leader, I know you come on here and you want to get the techniques of leadership and all that, and we talk about that, and we will get back to that. But you also have to know this history. You got to know this history. You can't be ignorant to the history of the children. In this case, we're in Black History Month. So your Black children who are sitting in these classrooms, and you don't know their story. Because see, when you have those meetings, those instructional leadership meetings, those pre-observation conference with teachers, this got to be a part of the conversation, because your teachers have to be conversant. So when you're having those professional development sessions with your staff, now we have the conferences, we can go in terms of specifics of what are we going to cover and what are the intended outcomes, right? So I'm keeping this whole presentation this week and next week from a perspective of the lens of the leadership. All right, let me keep it going. Number 22? What do I know about the Harlem Renaissance in terms of the literary arts, the visual arts, and the performing arts? Man, 1920s. We're in the 100th anniversary right now. You had this just explosion of the arts. So you had the migrations, which I'm gonna talk about in a little while. Folks coming from the South, in terms of New York, folks coming from the East Coast, and bringing Southern culture up with them, and then ultimately winding up in big cities, but places such as Harlem, New York City, and then this explosion, this Renaissance, this literary, visual, and performing arts Renaissance explosion in the 1920s, and people like County Cullen emerge, and Langston Hughes, and Zora Neale Hurston, and Helene Johnson, and Claude McKay, and one of my favorites, J.A. Rogers, got all his books on my shelf. Arthur Schomburg, which is a library on Lenox Avenue, Malcolm X Boulevard in Harlem, named after him, a very well-stocked library, I might add. James Weldon Johnson and his brother, Rosamond Johnson. But let me focus on James Weldon Johnson for a hot minute before I go to number 23. Lift Every Voice and Sing. Anybody that knows me well, you know that I take that song like really seriously. You know that those that know me or seen the videos of when I get very frustrated when an audience doesn't take it, when a youth audience doesn't take it seriously, and I'm just the guest speaker, but have the whole audience re-sing it, you know, or even the challenges I had as a principal with it, but brought it full circle, that it was treated as the anthem that it was meant to be. So here you got James Weldon Johnson, who writes this poem in 1900 called Lift Every Voice and Sing. But his brother, this trained musician, puts the music to it in 1905. And now it's been this Black national anthem ever since. But it's interesting, I didn't know, I just learned recently that in 1906, he was a principal at Stanton School in Jacksonville, Florida. He was a teacher first, and then became a principal. And he was a transformative principal. It was a segregated elementary school. And when you graduated from there, in terms of where you would go in high school, that became a challenge. So what did he do? He added the high school grades to the school. So now the youngsters didn't have to be concerned about where to go once they graduated. They can stay in the same school and move on all the way to grade 12. That's James Weldon Johnson. And we don't typically think of him in that regard. Number 23, what do I know about the Negro Leagues? Man, you know, I've talked about that a lot, so I don't need to go in depth with it. I just want to highlight Rube Foster, who was a star pitcher, but for the Chicago American Giants. That I wore that shirt about a few weeks ago, dark blue pinstripe shirt. But he decided, let's create a league. and they brought 8 teams together and formed the Negro National League, right? And then from there, you have black ownership of teams. You have black ownership of baseball stadiums, right? So one of the disadvantages of Jackie Robinson's transition into the major leagues in 1947 was the loss of black ownership in baseball, because you had black owners again of teams and fields, right? So and then all the other secondary aspects of the ownership within the realm of baseball. So now all that gets lost, right? Just like integration of schools. Well, about 18,000 teachers lost their jobs. So as much as there's been always a battle for integration, there's always a loss within integration. And in this case, in terms of baseball, Negro League baseball, we lost ownership of teams, right? And lost leagues that were very viable, right? And there's so much more, but I'm gonna move on because I see what time it is. I got a lot to go. Number 24 is a big one for me. Number 24 says, what do I know about the plethora of inventions and discoveries of black inventors and scientists? Let me read that again because I stuttered. What do I know about the plethora of inventions and discoveries of black inventors and scientists? You know, somebody do me a favor, hit that share button for me, hit that retweet button for me. I know that there's a lot of folks that don't want this kind of lesson. I understand that. They want that nuts and bolts of leadership so they can get that job and don't realize that this is just as significant, if not more so. Because here we're talking about, once again, I got to reiterate it. You got black children who can go to school K-12 and never be exposed to the history of themselves. But then you got their white counterparts or other races and ethnicities sitting in the same classroom next to them, and they too not being exposed to the information. So now you got everybody graduating from the school and no one knowing a significant portion of American history, the part that had been either marginalized, distorted, or omitted from curriculum and instruction. So here I'm saying to you, because of the folks that tune in, look, you need to hear this so that you can further explore it. And then look at your own curriculum and ask yourself the question, why is what this man, Principal Kafele, has been sharing with us in the month of February, why is this not a part of what we do? Right? So for example, when I talked about the Harlem Renaissance, are we reading that literature? Do we know Langston Hughes? Do we know Zora Neale Hurston? See, and I don't mean know their names. Do we know their work? See, I'm saying to us, that's our responsibility. And if we don't seize upon it, then we are just as negligent as the people that came before us. There's no difference. So if you're sitting here watching me and you decide, man, I don't need this because we don't do this, then you just as negligent. You're just as guilty as those who came before you. If you hear something today, if you hear that there was black ownership of baseball teams, if you hear there was black control of entire leagues in this country, because black people were not permitted to play in the majors because they were born black. If you're hearing that from me and you don't do something with that information, that's a problem. It translates into you being just as complicit, just as guilty as the ones who came before you. I don't care if you are black, white, or whatever. I'm talking to anybody watching that will see this live or who is watching will see the video later on. See, at some point, the story has to be told. Like when I told you about the founding of the NAACP. If you didn't know that it was born out of a race massacre in the hometown of Abraham Lincoln, a race massacre where 2 innocent men, 56 years old 84 years old. The 84, by the way, was married to a white woman, and they were very upset about that. So took an 84-year-old and hung him from a tree. See, there's the origins of the NAACP. There's roots there. It's not just let's form an organization. This is enough of this racial violence, particularly in the South, although Illinois was up north. So I'm saying all that to say, don't tune out on me because you need to know the story. But let me give you something a little lighter, because I've been a little, let me get a little lighter here. Number 24, what do I know about the plethora of inventions and discoveries of Black inventors and scientists? I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to tell you about 7 inventors. Right, I'll do this quick. 7 inventors. Andrew Beard. These are all like early 1800s, late 1700s, early 1800s. Let me give you this one. Andrew Beard. Walk with me on this one. My man Stalin said, forget the light stuff. Listen, Andrew Beard worked on the railroad. And in order to join 2 cars together, 2 train cars, you got to couple them, right? Well, couplers did not always exist. You had 2 iron, these 2 iron rings, and the locomotive would have to back the cars into one another when the 2 rings were aligned. And once they were aligned, then you drop an iron pin. So you stand between the 2 cars, and while the locomotive goes in reverse, so to line it up. But the problem was, it's not that locomotive could stop on a dime. So now as that locomotive would back up, it sometimes would go beyond the alignment, and the person in the middle gets crushed to the extent of they may lose a limb, an arm, a leg, whatever. So now this person, Andrew Beard, he lost a limb. So he said, I need to invent something to rectify this problem. So he came up with what was called the Jenny coupler. And what it did, the locomotive backed up, the couplers touched, and then locked. Well, you may not have known, Andrew Beard was Black. And we're talking about in the early 1800s. Black man. The Jenny coupler. Boom. Now it's coupled. So next time you see a train or a subway and you see the coupling, that's Andrew Beard. But he never got credit for it. I got this book. It's on my other bookcase. I can't even show you. But I got this book, Black Inventors of America. And I read it in the 80s. It blew my mind. I said, wow. But then Granville T Woods. Granville T Woods is the inventor of the 3rd rail. So those of you in a city with a subway system, the electric train, well, that 3rd rail is what allows the train to go. Granville T Woods, African-American inventor, came up with the 3rd rail. When you go on, next time you ride a subway, just think about the fact that you ride in a subway that's only operating because a Black inventor by the name of Granville T Woods in the early 1800s invented it. But also, when you underground in them tunnels, all like New York, all over Brooklyn and the Bronx and Queens and Manhattan, you got these subway trains, they don't collide. You know why? Because they have an induction system, a dispatch system. Granville T Woods created it, right? It's called the telegraph induction system, which is a dispatch system that prevents the trains from colliding into one another. That's Granville T Woods. Next, Richard Spikes. When you jump in your car later today, if you've got automatic transmission where you go from park to reverse to neutral to drive, thank Richard Spikes, African-American inventor. He invented that. See, before it was a manual transmission, so you had to switch gears and while your left foot's on a clutch, and everybody can't do that. But here you got Richard Spikes, and he's nah, I can fix that. They can go right from park to drive, and now don't have to switch to 1st gear, 2nd gear, 3rd gear, 4th gear. Ain't got to do that. Can just put both hands on the wheel and drive. See, but while he invented that, he also invented the directional signal in a car. So when you turn left, when that light start blinking, Richard Spikes. When you turn right and that light starts blinking, Richard Spikes. Man, your children need to know this, leader. You sitting here watching me. Your children need to know this. That their ancestry is not comprised of just rappers and athletes, but they got scientific ingenuity flowing through their veins. They need to be aware of that. Let me go on to Frederick McKinley Jones. You know, when you go to the supermarket and you buy your frozen foods, well, how you think they got there? They got there in a truck. But how you think they got there refrigerated? Because Frederick McKinley Jones saw that the system that was being used, they took big blocks of ice and put them in a big trailer. Well, on them hot days, particularly in the South, how long do you think that ice would last? So now food arrive in the supermarket spoiled. So now Frederick McKinley Jones invents the refrigerated truck, the coolant system that you see on the front of the trailer of a truck, the refrigerated train, the coolant system within a train. So now the frozen food and anything else that needs to remain frozen will remain frozen because of the invention of this black man, Frederick McKinley Jones. It's all documented. Black Inventors of America is the book by McKinley Burt Jr. with all the patent numbers and the blueprints in the book for anybody with cognitive dissonance that may not believe, right? It's all there. And I got to say this to you. For many of us as human beings to go through our entire lives, we're 20, we're 30, we're 40, we're 50, we're 60, and then all of a sudden, some guy on a Saturday morning, what's his name again? Principal who? Kafele? Kafele. Oh, yeah, the bald head guy? Yeah. He talking about all these inventions by these black people. I didn't know that. Yeah, I need proof, someone might say. I need proof. Okay, Black Inventors of America. The patent numbers and the blueprints are there. Right? But it can create cognitive dissonance if you went through a Eurocentric curriculum your whole life and everything created and everything good was white, right? And the only thing we saw with black was sports, right? So we got an Arthur Ashe poster hanging somewhere on the wall, and an Althea Gibson poster hanging somewhere on the wall, right? And a Oprah Winfrey poster hanging on the wall. And in the old, the matter of fact, I ain't even gonna say this name. And so you got these people hanging on the wall, but where's the black inventor, right? Lori J, I see you, right? So where's the black inventor? Where's the black scientist? That youngster needs to know that I got scientific ingenuity flowing through my veins. I didn't know that. You go to that site that Lori J just put up, Black History website, blackpast.org. That's the site I'm on all the time too. Thank you for that. So make sure that, hear me, y'all, even when it's 12 o'clock, keep hearing me, because I got a lot to go, y'all. I'm staying on here. I'm telling you right now, I'm going past 12 today, right? So now, next, Jan Matzeliger. It looks like Jan, but it's actually Jan, Jan. You know, before Jan Matzeliger's invention, when you manufacture shoes, it was manual. It was like you take the top of the shoe, the leather, and you stitch it to the sole, like a person stitching by hand. He saw the lack of productivity in that, so he came up with the shoe lasting machine. It's another African American inventor, the shoe lasting machine that attached the shoe to the sole of the shoe. So the upper part of the shoe to the bottom of the shoe, the sole, and now you could mass produce. The stitching was automatic. But see, these inventions, the coupler, the electric rail, the directional signal, the automatic transmission, the refrigerated truck and train, now the shoe lasting machine, these weren't attributed to black people. So it was just assumed, okay, I guess somebody white created it. And now the black youngster coming up doesn't have that frame of reference, but the white youngster sitting in his classroom is seeing him and her through the wrong lens. Because see, I can get into Katherine Johnson right now because it's not just men. See, there's a lot of people we could talk about. Let me keep going. I just wanted to give you these 7. Elijah McCoy. Those of you who are old enough, when I say old enough, like you my age, I'm 60, right? Or you in your 50s, or if you watch the reruns of Bugs Bunny, right? Bugs Bunny, I remember this like it was yesterday. He would always say, the real McCoy, right? Just like that. The real McCoy. And I never thought about it. Like, okay, the real McCoy. And then when I read that book, Black Inventors of America, the real McCoy. Elijah McCoy. I didn't know he was, I didn't know where that term, that expression came from. I'm getting there, Stallings. I'm getting there. Elijah McCoy was the one that created automatic lubrication. So think about a train again. I'm using the example of the train. It's traveling down the tracks. It's got an engine. All engines need lubrication. So now you got movable parts. Movable parts. You see, you know what an engine looks like, got movable parts. So now it gets to a point where all the movable parts are dried out. That can create friction and engine damage, if not a fire. So so the workers would have to climb up on top of the engine and literally grease it down with rags, grease the movable parts down with rags. They would grease it. That was how they lubricated it, right? So then now they could travel X number of miles. Elijah McCoy said, wait a minute, I can fix this. He came up with what was called the drip cup. And now they would put oil in this cup. They had this cork at the bottom and a hole, and the oil would drip. And as it dripped, it would expand and spread throughout the movable parts of the engine. And now they never had to stop until the cup ran out of oil, right? Like an automobile, you put oil in the car. Well, that oil that you put in a car comes out of Elijah McCoy as well. So wherever you put oil, that's McCoy. So when Bugs Bunny said, he's like chewing on a carrot, right? Remember that? The real McCoy, right? No, the real McCoy was this black man named Elijah McCoy. So they would say when as the Industrial Revolution was picking up and they saw Elijah McCoy's invention, they said, that's the real McCoy, right? That's no imitation. That's where it comes from. Man, you got children. Don't you run out of here at 12 o'clock like, yo, I gotta go, man. Or man, I want Kafele to talk about instructional leadership and policy and climate and culture. No, we did that and we will do it more. But right now you got black children who look in their mirror and they don't know who that is looking back. You got black children who are going to your schools not recognizing the brilliance in that mirror. Not recognizing the history in that mirror, not recognizing the scientific genius that's looking back at them in that mirror. So it's not just techniques in terms of what's in this book, but you also got to make sure that your black children got a foundation upon which to stand. There's a history that has been deliberately kept away from them. Now, I said deliberately. I didn't say accidentally. There's a history that has been deliberately kept away from them, denied them, because the history is power. Information is power. See? So let me wrap this up. This invention's up. Lewis Latimer, my main man, Vincent Stallings, been writing notes on here. Like, when you going to get to the filler, man? I saved the best for last, man. Listen. Y'all see me lit up in here? I got lights on me, man. That's why I sweat during these broadcasts. I'm lit up. I got lights. I got my little studio going, right? But here's the thing. Thomas Edison. This gonna create some cognitive dissonance with somebody. You and I were in school. They said Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Why am I gonna question that? I'm in first grade, second grade, third, fourth, fifth, whenever they said it. Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Okay. Oh, I got you. Take the test. Who invented the light bulb? Thomas Edison. All right, got that one right. Right. So that's what it was. So then later on, I'm reading this book. Now, this one I got over here. Not in the book Black Inventors of America, but I'm also reading Blacks in Science by Ivan Van Sertima. professor at Rutgers University here in Jersey. And it's a chapter on Lewis Latimer. Lewis Latimer. Yeah, like Thomas Edison invents this light bulb. And great prototype, but it would flicker out. And before it flickered out, it got excessively hot, which made it dangerous. And it was just an exorbitant price to produce. So he had this young black man, I mean young, 1880, working with Thomas Edison. I mean, the Civil War just ended in 1865, and now he's got this young black man working with him, one of his aides, his sidekicks, Lewis Latimer, working with him. So I don't know how the conversation went, but let me replicate it. Edison is frustrated with the results of the bulb. So Mr. Latimer, Lewis Latimer says, Mr. Edison, because he's younger, so he's gonna give him the utmost respect. Mr. Edison, I think I know what's wrong with the bulb. I can fix this. And Edison probably said, "You think so, young Lewis? What's wrong with it?" Well, Mr. Edison, I kind of know something about filaments, and what it needs is what's called the carbon thread filament. So if you would allow me to insert the filament into the bulb, I think that's going to take care of the problem, sir. Give me a little time. Let me work on this thing. So he gets this wiring called carbon thread filament and inserts it into the bulb. Then goes on and, they surround the bulb through that, whatever that manufacturing process is. And then they turn it on and it just glows. Just like you see how I'm glowing? Because I got all that light on me. I got Lewis Latimer's like glowing on me right now. See, so in other words, here's what I'm saying to you. Not one of you who is watching live or who will see this tape, this video, not one of you has ever been in a Thomas Edison lit room. You don't know what it is. You have only been in the Lewis Latimer lit rooms. See, these Lewis Latimer lights. But Lewis Latimer, he didn't stop there. He said, well, let me write a textbook about this. He wrote the first textbook ever written in America on electrical lighting. Yeah. Now the word is out, you put a book out there, people gonna know about you. So now no city has electrical lighting. Nobody has electrical lighting. It's not invented until then, 1881. So now the cities start reaching out. New York City, DC, Philadelphia, up in Montreal, out in London, like Lewis Latimer, we're ready to install city lighting, electrical lighting. Would you come out and supervise the installation of lighting? Oh, yeah. Hey, somebody watching me right now. I know some of you knew this because I see the thread, but what about those of you that didn't know? I just want you to ask yourself a question right now. Ask yourself, why didn't I know? Why am I on this YouTube video? I mean, well, some of you watching on YouTube. Why am I on this live video listening to a guy I never met? And he's telling me this. Why didn't I hear this when I was much younger? See, that's what you should be asking yourself. But he didn't stop there. Watch this, y'all. I'm going over 12, y'all. Y'all gotta hang with me. Ride with me. Here, lock in. Lock in. See, Alexander Graham Bell, he got to know Lewis Latimer. He saw that brilliance in that man. Lewis Latimer was a draftsman. That was his trade. That was at his core. He's a draftsman, mechanical drawing. So Alexander Graham Bell, like, yo, Lewis, let me holler at you too. you and Thomas Edison got this relationship. Let me holler at you now. I came up with something too. I came up with this device that allows deaf people to hear, but I can't get it patented because in order to get a patent, I need a blueprint, and I don't have that skill set. You do, though. You a master draftsman. Could you draw up the blueprint for this device? Lewis Latimer said, yes, sir. Now, Lewis Latimer, a lot younger than him, he said, yes, sir. I got you. I take care of that. He went on and drew up the blueprint. That device, let me show you. Here you go. Right here. A phone. Not the cell phone. That's another black person, right? That's another conversation. The regular telephone, that device that Alexander Graham Bell came up with became the first phone. That's Lewis Latimer, y'all. Let me look at my camera one more time. Somebody need to be saying, man, like you need to be saying like the D word, right? Like D, like yo, that's what you need. You need to be like D, like yo. Why don't I know this? I'm a fairly brilliant person. This is you speaking of. I'm a fairly brilliant person. I'm intelligent. I didn't know this. A black guy back in 1880? Yeah. But I could spend the rest of the day talking about black excellence. I could spend the rest of the day talking about that. This ain't nothing new, right? See all that tragedy, all that hardship and struggle, but black excellence emerged all over the place, like every year, every decade, right? Throughout those years of 1619 to 2021, black excellence was never suppressed. I need you to understand that. Black excellence always manifested itself. Always. It's just that it was always through struggle, having to figure out, okay, we're talking about it's an oppressed population, historically oppressed population, but if you study history, you're not going to find periods of time where black excellence did not continue to manifest. That's what you have to understand. I don't want you to think, okay, the period of enslavement and everybody was a slave and nothing was. No, excellence was emerging out of that. See, I'm here to talk about it because I'm a descendant of the ones who survived. So if we're talking about just a people that survived, but not talking about excellence that emerged out of it, then I don't know that I'm here today. So you can never lose sight of that. Black excellence always manifested from the first day in Jamestown, Virginia, 1619. Let me keep going. Let me go to number 25. It's 12:02, y'all. I ain't thinking about stopping right now, right? So I know some people have to go. I get it. This will be the longest one I've ever done. Maybe I did one for 2 hours one day, but I just got to keep going, y'all. Number 25. What do I know about the history of lynchings? Now I'm going back to the tough stuff. What do I know about the history of lynchings of black men and black women? Right. And I might add black children. Right. See, it's not just black men who were strange fruit. Right. It's black women, black children. Right. So let me just explain this for a minute. It wasn't like somebody would grab up somebody and hoist them into a noose in a tree and hang them and then that's it. No, this was a big event. This was a public spectacle. This was an advertised event. You know, I want you to hear me on this because I know some of y'all are gonna hang with me for a while. I have no choice but to look at life through the lens of a black man because that's what I'm born as. I can't look at life through the lens of a generic person. I can't. It's impossible. I can try to pretend, but it's not possible. I'm a black man, so I'm going to look at life through the lens of a black man. So when I watch a sport, and let me just pick on one sport. When I watch the sport of boxing, or when I don't watch that UFC, but it has been on in this house, but I'm not a fan of it. But it's two people in a cage, right? Or boxing, two people in a ring. So you got two people in a ring, and then you got thousands around them. And they're all cheering and going crazy, and they're drinking, all that kind of stuff, right? Well, when I watch that, I like boxing. I watch boxing, but I can't divorce myself of history. Because see, a lynching, and I don't share screens when I do this stuff, so I can't even show you pictures, but you can go right on the internet, just type the word lynching and then click images and you'll see it. These were attended by hundreds and thousands of white people. And pictures would be taken, which became postcards. And the people would always be smiling. You know how you take a selfie, but you want a certain background? So you're outdoors somewhere, you take a selfie, but you're trying to get something in the back behind you to be a part of your selfie experience. Well, with lynchings, you would have smiling people. They weren't taking selfies. Someone else took the picture, but the black man or woman that was hanging from the tree was always in the picture with the smiling people. I want you to understand that. So you look at the picture, they grinning, they laughing, but the the corpse, the black man hanging from the tree is in the picture behind him. So this was a big deal, an advertised event. So hundreds and in some cases, thousands of people looking forward to the big night to watch a black man be lynched, hung from a tree. So when I watch the sporting event and I see the excitement of the crowd, I'm not equating the boxing match to a lynching, but I am saying when I see the excitement of the crowd, it gives me sort of just understanding relatability to the excitement of watching this lynching. But watch this. When you go to a sporting event, you can go to the gift shop and buy souvenirs, a hat, a jersey, a sweater, a hoodie, a pin, a pennant, whatever, to indicate I was there. Y'all with me? I'm going overtime. Stay with me. So you could buy a souvenir. Well, at the lynching, souvenirs were sold. I don't know who out there watching this morning is not aware, but I got to tell you, at the lynching, the limbs and the organ, and I won't be specific on the organ, you understand where I am on that. The limbs and the male organ, I'll keep it that way, those were sold. Those were sold as souvenirs to take home and put in a glass jar. Right? So the limbs, the male organ, but also they would cut up the rope and sell segments of the rope. So now the people could take it home as a souvenir to say, I was there. And then later on, they could get the postcard with the image and mail it to other people. I was here at the lynching on February 20th, right? So that's what it was. See, I said to you last week and 2 weeks ago, and then I said it other sessions, you can't, and I said it this morning, you can't understand Black rage in 2021 if you don't understand the past that got us to this point. There's a correlation. The rage of the Black community is not isolated and new. It's a continuum. And a lot of it's rooted in what I just shared with you, that strange fruit, as Nina Simone sang, of Black people, men, women, and children hanging from a tree at a big carnival-like atmosphere. See, it wasn't just a couple of people there watching a lynching. Again, I want you to think about a stadium full, and that's what it looked like. Just go to Google, type in lynchings, and click images, and you will see them. You'll see little girls standing there smiling with a dead body hanging from a tree right behind them. Right? What do I know about the history of lynchings in America? There were over 4,000 of them. They say up to 4,700 of them between 1882 and 1968. But we know that there was some more beyond 1968. We are well aware of that. Let me keep moving. Number 26, I don't know if Kim Wilson Daniels hanging in there this long, but let me keep going. Number 26, I'm gonna do this one quickly. What do I know about the history of race riots and white mob violence toward Black men and women in America? Man, once again, what do I know about the history of race riots and white mob violence toward Black people, Black men and women in America? See, there's certain, and again, I told you, riots is just a euphemism for the real word, which is massacre. So I could talk about each of these. There's all these major massacres, such as Atlanta in 1906, East St. Louis in 1917, Omaha, Nebraska in 1919, Chicago in 1919, which is a very interesting one, Tulsa, with Black Wall Street in 1921 and Rosewood in 1923. I just want to briefly cover Rosewood and Tulsa, and I'm almost done. With Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood. I mean, I'm sorry, Tulsa. Let me slow down. Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. We're talking about Black Wall Street, Greenwood section of Tulsa, where you had, as I said a few weeks ago, you had this thriving Black community that had, you know, it depends on who you read. Some say up to 600 different businesses, all Black owned, right? Other accounts may say 200 to 300, but all Black owned, 200 to 300 or 600. We're talking about a lot of Black owned businesses within the same locale. That's a whole lot, right? Just depends on what scholar you read. But allegedly, a Black man had assaulted a young Black woman on an elevator, right? Not sexually, but assaulted. This was the allegation. But there's evidence out there that that did not happen. But even if it did, the consequences should not be 35 square blocks destroyed. I want you to think about a square block. One square block is big enough. 35 square blocks torched to the ground. 1,256 homes burned to the ground. 200 businesses, or whatever the number is, destroyed, burned to the ground. Hundreds of deaths, right? The documented number is 300, but 15,000 people were homeless. With 1,256 homes destroyed, logically, to me, there's more than 300 deaths, right? And virtually every structure in that vicinity was destroyed. They're gone. The people were not honored by being buried in being properly buried. They're pretty much under that city, right? So just like in Lower Manhattan in New York, the enslaved population is underneath the city. In Lower Manhattan, when you talk about around by the World Trade Center, literally that's where Black folks lived during slavery during that time. They weren't honored with a proper burial either. You got hundreds, if not thousands, of Black remains underground in Lower Manhattan, New York City. So Tulsa, Greenwood section is the same thing. Same thing, right? So that's not a race riot. So when I hear people say, oh, the Tulsa race riot in 1921, riot? Are you serious? You must not have read much. That's a massacre, right? That's not a riot. That's a massacre. But then by the same token, in 1923, you got Rosewood, Florida. You had a Black man accused of assaulting a white woman. It always boils down to when you study these massacres, it's always the allegation, which one could say, let's create a justification, a rationale for lynching a Black man. So it always boiled down, a Black man assaulted a white woman, always. So in 1923 in Rosewood, Florida, a Black town, it was alleged that this Black man assaulted this white woman, right? So now now they go looking for him. And it turned out, so a mob is created. And it turned out the Ku Klux Klan had a rally nearby. So they were able to get them to participate. So now what they did in search of this man, they went from house to house and set it on fire. And then as the people would run out of the house, they would shoot them down and kill them. So just imagine your house is on fire, God forbid. And then you run out as what people do. You run out of the house because your house is burning down. Well, as you ran out your door, ran out your window, there was somebody from the mob waiting for you to shoot you down. So now you had all these people just going from house to house, thousands of people, huge mobs, which included 500 KKK members, just going from house to house because one man allegedly assaulted one woman. One Black man allegedly assaulted one white woman. And now an entire city was wiped out. So later on, restitution was given to the survivors. We're talking about people in their 80s and 90s now they were awarded $2 million from the government in an education fund for their descendants. But that was recently. But I just want you to just picture in your mind, and there is a movie out there called Rosewood. I just want you to picture in your mind's eye, though, a mob going from city to city. I mean, I'm sorry, from home to home to home, burning it down. And one of the things I'm looking at the thread, the airplane. Let me go back to Tulsa for a minute, because I tend to forget this when I'm talking about it. But thank you for that, Gina Bird. Airplanes were new in the 1920s, but there was eyewitness accounts that some kind of kerosene bombs were being dropped on the buildings in Tulsa in terms of Black Wall Street. And the reason that they said it was being dropped from the sky is because these fires were starting from the roof. They weren't starting from the ground up. They were starting from the roof down. So they're saying that these kerosene bombs were being dropped from these airplanes, which was, aircrafts were new at that time, but being dropped from these aircraft onto Black Wall, that Greenwood section of Tulsa known as Black Wall Street. So when you hear the Gap Band talking about they dropped the bomb on me, the song is loosely talking about that era, right? So I just wanted to throw that in there too. I'm just letting you know. And one of the things I'm looking at what Danella Bailey just wrote, when you talk about trauma, right? All these accounts I'm giving you this afternoon now, the Black community has never gone through any therapy. We've just gone from year to year, decade to decade, generation to generation, but there's never been any therapy for this. So generationally, it's handed down, it's handed down, it's handed down. Right? It's just handed down through the generations, but there hasn't been anything therapeutic. So we're still suffering. The echoes of this period are in us. That's why I'm talking about it. But the children need to be made aware. That's the bottom line. The children need to be made aware. Let me keep going, y'all. I look, it's 12:17. I'm going to keep it going, y'all. I'm going to keep it going. Look, number 29. I'm going to take it to 31, right? I'm going to stop at 31. Number 29. What do I know about the Tuskegee experiment? Man, I'm glad I still got people on here. Let me tell you something, y'all. Listen to me. I know you, and I'm saying this to whomever's watching. Whomever. Listen. Whomever you are, we know that within the African American community, there are many who are reluctant to take the vaccine for COVID-19. I'm trying to combine words, right? Create my own words, maybe vaccine, right? So there's a reluctance, and that's including with me. There's a reluctance to have a vaccine administered to various just lots of people within the African American community. But it's justifiable if you understand history. So I'm going to use this as an example. It's not the only example. The Tuskegee experiment, 40 years, 1932 to 1972. I know that many of you know it. I'm just going to highlight it. I'm not going to go deep. But you had 600 men in Macon County, Alabama, whom there was syphilis. There was no cure for syphilis at that time. So you had a lot of people that had syphilis. So you had this group of doctors from the public health services of the U.S. Public Health Services, right, United States government, who recruited 600 men, and they diagnosed 399 of them had syphilis, and the other 201 were a control group. So the objective was to make them think they were being cured for it by giving them aspirin and other medication that would do nothing for it. Because the rationale was to see syphilis through its duration. So let it run its course to see what it culminates into. So now you got these men, and it was discovered, it was learned that it led to blindness, mental impairment, and death. So in 1947, I believe it was, 1947, penicillin comes on the scene, which will knock syphilis out. But they were not given penicillin. They continued to be given, you might as well call it a placebo, right? So aspirin and other medications, but not being cured. Well, these men were passing on syphilis to their loved ones. right? Their wives, and ultimately children being born with syphilis, when this could have been cured in 1947. But it went on to 1972 when an inspector got wind of it, leaked it to the press in San Francisco, and a story was made of it. And now it came to a halt. So just like Rosewood, restitution was given, but the fact remains that it happened for 40 years. I want you to read 40 years that these men in Alabama could have been in Tuskegee, could have been given penicillin to wipe the syphilis out of their system, but they were not, and were allowed to transmit it to their wives and their children. So the other 128 of the participants had died, and at least 40 spouses had been diagnosed with it, and the disease had been passed on to 19 children at birth, right? So don't wonder why there's such a full court press on the African-American community to take the vaccine, because you got a lot of folks that know the history. And that's just an example. You got a lot of folks that know the history and therefore don't trust the vaccine. But that's justifiable, just on this example alone. But there's so much more we could talk about in terms of why the trust factor is not there, right? Let me keep it moving. I ain't staying on here all day. Let me go to number 30. I'm gonna end this thing. I'm almost done. What do I know about the Great Migrations? What do I know about the Great Migrations? Man, you know, Black folks populated the South primarily until the First World War. And then through, I mean, you got economic hardships. And when I say economic hardships, I mean, it's brutal. The economic opportunities, the job opportunities are limited now. The South is literally not safe. So you know it's no jobs, right? So post-Reconstruction, the South is brutal to be Black. So you got economic limited economic opportunities. You got brutal segregation laws, right? And then you got white mob violence and the KKK. You got folks that want to get out of there. So over a period of time, two waves in particular, over 6 million Black folks got on trains or cars and migrated up north. And where in the north, depending on what state you were in. So if you were on the East Coast, and you just went straight up. So if you were in, say, like Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina, right? Then you coming up here where I am, to Jersey, and New York, and Pennsylvania, etc. If your family is down in say Alabama, Mississippi, then you going straight up Chicago, Detroit, and areas up in that place, Indianapolis, Indiana. You know, so it depended on where you were. So you got this big mass of migrations because folks are looking for job opportunity, particularly during the war industry, in the midst of World War I. So they're particular jobs. But now you got, as the war ends, and World War I, and you got folks coming back home, and then you got immigrants coming to this country. Now you got more of these race wars, these race massacres, because now you got Black folks who are employed, but now you got white folks in the military coming back who like, yo, wait a minute, right? So now you got now you got conflict. You got these massacres going on. So now World War II comes about, and then there's another wave, and then at the end of the war, you got the same situation, plus the Great Depression, right? So I wanted to, I thought I was gonna do this a lot earlier. I just want to show. I want to make this one personal. I want to personalize this. I'm glad I still got folks on here with me. Let me personalize this one. My grandmother, who I call Nana, M-A-N-A-N-A, right? She came here. She was born in Black Ridge, Virginia in 1912, right? She worked as a sharecropper. You understand what a sharecropper is? She worked as a sharecropper. So here you work the land that's not owned by you. You can sell crops that you grew, but you first got to pay the owner of the land his share. And in a lot of cases, you stayed in debt. And particularly if you're talking about a population because we're talking about a population that's recently out of slavery who may not be proficient with numbers. So now you got a lot of people being ripped off. My grandmother was working as a sharecropper and detected that was happening in terms of being in terms of her family being ripped off. So at 16, she makes her way up here. But let me say this first. I got some notes here. I wanted to make sure I got everything. My grandmother used to play with white children. And you know, this is not unique to my grandmother. This is the story. This happened to Dr. King, what I'm getting ready to tell you, Martin Luther King. My grandmother used to play with these white children. When she turned 13, this one little girl was named Ellen. She turned 13. And no, when Ellen turned 13, her mother came to my grandmother and her siblings and said, effective immediately, you're no longer to play with my daughter, Ellen. And her name to you now is Miss Ellen. Now, Ellen's 13, but her mother told my grandmother and her siblings and friends, from now on, you refer to my daughter as Miss Ellen. That's no aberration, y'all. I want y'all to hear me. That's normal. Just like in the South, in so many cases, if you black and you were walking down the sidewalk and a white person came by, or a group of whites or two whites, you had to move to the side to let them through so that they can walk through unobstructed. That's just what it was. I need you to know that if you didn't know that. I need you to understand that, right? So she got to call her Miss Ellen. So at 16, she just comes on up to Jersey, somewhere around 1928. She's young. She don't have a full education. So she comes here. She gets married. Her husband dies at the age of 45, but she's got two daughters, my mother and my mother's sister, my aunt. The best work she could get was as a domestic worker. Hear me, somebody, because somebody might not understand this. So while families are celebrating Thanksgiving, Christmas with their family, my grandmother is cooking for them and cleaning for them. She's not home with her family. She's cooking and cleaning and raising their children. That's what she's doing. But that's not unique to my family. That's what I want you to understand. I'm just personalizing it. That's not unique to my family. That's the Black experience. That's what I need you to understand. Even if I could be talking to some Black folks right now that you are so detached from the history that you don't even know this. Because it's a lot of Black youth that don't know anything about their roots in the South. They don't know. It's a lot of Black youth who don't have that connection to the South. So I'm talking to whomever's listening. So there could be folks listening right now. You don't understand that. So now, from the time she's 16 until 60, she's domestic worker, man. She's cooking and she's cleaning because as a Black, all fine. So holiday, she's making their holiday better. That's what she's doing. She's making their holiday more enjoyable. That's what she's doing. Right? That's just what it is. I got to share this with somebody. I know you want me to talk about this, but guess what? I am talking about this because if you got Black children sitting in the classroom and their history, because as painful as this is a part of their story. This is a part of their history. Stories got to be told. And sometimes family don't know the story. Family doesn't always know the story. I had a youngster that I taught one year, and I met the grandmother. The grandmother was 35. He was 13 or 14. I know he didn't know the story. Right? So see, you got a lot of young people don't know the story. So I'm here, but I'm just giving you some extra today in the spirit of Black History Month right now. right? So now watch this, y'all. She's a domestic putting 2 daughters through school, segregated schools in Orange, New Jersey. I didn't say Montgomery, Alabama. I said Orange, New Jersey, putting 2 daughters through segregated schools. And she buys a house, a 3-story house, a domestic worker that had the fire. See, that's probably where I get it from. See, so when you got that fire, she goes on and purchases a 3-story, 1-family house and calls for the siblings, because she had a mess of them. It's 10 of them. And called for the siblings. She was the 3rd oldest. Y'all come on up here. Don't worry about rent. You just come on up here. I got a room for you. It's 3 stories high. I grew up in it. I grew up in that house. It's 3 stories high. She called all the siblings. Y'all come on up here. I got you. They all living in there. East Orange, New Jersey. See, so now she's domestic worker. Cleaning, cooking. But at age 60, y'all hear me. Y'all don't leave on this one. If you're gonna leave, you wait till you hear this. At age 60, she said, yo, my mother told me, she said, don't say it this way, but hey, Mom, I got to. She said, I'm tired of licking white folks' floors. My mother told me don't say that, right? Mom, I'm sorry, you can slap me on the wrist later. My grandmother said, I'm tired of licking white folks' floors. My grandmother went to nursing school at age 60. I'm 60. So at age 60, she went to nursing school. I'm going to say, hey, Mom, because my mother's on here. I got to say it again. My grandmother said, I'm tired of licking white folks' floors. She went to nursing school at age 60 and got a job at the Veterans Administration Hospital in South Orange, New Jersey, and worked there for years. Listen, we talking about somebody with limited education that went on to school in Newark, New Jersey, got her license to be a nurse, and started working. At age 60, working her dream after licking white folks' floors. All them years. I'm quoting my grandmother, right? All them years. See, you got children now. They don't know the story. They don't know because it hasn't been told. A leader out here, look, if you got a shovel or something, whatever you got to do, hang on for a minute, because I got one more. Hang on for a minute. I've been talking to you guys since 11 o'clock this morning. Did I say anything today you did not know? Did I say anything today that you got students in your school that need to hear? Or did I just reinforce all morning? I mean, did I drop something new? I hope so. I hope and if I didn't give you something new, I hope I at least gave you a reason to think in a portion of your brain that you ain't been thinking for a while. I hope I gave you something to think about. I hope I made somebody emotional. See, because the story's got to be told. And I gave you mine. There's some out there that are much more tragic than that. But you need to know that. But here's the thing. I told you a half hour ago. I'm gonna say it again. Black excellence emerged from all of that oppression. To go to school at age 60 and become a nurse at the VA hospital in the midst of putting her children through college. As a domestic, she put my mother through Morgan State and Seton Hall University. She put my aunt, I think it was through Rice University. No, not Rice. Pace University, Bryce is in Houston, Pace University in New York City. Licking them daggone floors, that's an expression in case somebody's taking it literally, put 2 women through 4 years of undergraduate school. My mother raised me by herself, but she's a product of what her mother poured into her. I can't walk around here, like faking the funk. That's a Parliament Funkadelic expression, and pretend this stuff not happening. And we in the midst of Black History Month, and I'm gonna talk to you about policy, or I'm gonna talk to you about instructional leadership in isolation, or climate and culture. No, we got to talk some history here. Now, if the history's too strong, it's some other cats on some of them other lives doing their stuff, and they talking about some light fluff. I know they're out there. But if you want to, but if you want to get into some real stuff here, this is the place to be right now in this space. That's not to denigrate anybody out there. But if it's Black History Month, and some colleague of mine, whomever, and you ain't talking Black history, you an educator, you a consultant, and this is Black History Month, and nothing that comes out of your mouth is related to Black history, then I ask the question, then what good are you? Who needs you? You don't have a spine or a backbone or a courage to talk about that which is most relevant in February? You're going to talk about some classroom climate in February when you got a platform? People who tune in to listen to you, and you running away from it, knowing that you should be talking about it? So I'm saying to you, them people, they out there. I know it because I go on some of their videos and I say, man, it's February and they ain't thinking about Black History Month. Right? So, but as you all know, especially the ones who've been rocking with me since the beginning, I don't confine Black history to Black History Month. I just highlight it during Black History Month. Let me finish up, y'all. My grandmother went on and joined the National Council of Negro Women, the organization founded by Mary McLeod Bethune, and she was a lifelong member until she died. She did her thing. Black excellence in the midst of systemic racism. Let me say that to you one more time in case you missed it. Black excellence in the midst of systemic racism. Truth crushed the earth will rise again. See, you might put your heel on us, but we're going to come up out of that. See, that's how that works. You got to know this story, y'all. You got to know this history. Let me finish up, y'all. Last one, number 31. What do I know about Black participation in World Wars I and II, including the Tuskegee Airmen in World War II? What do I know? America. I mean, I'm not going to go deep because I said I'm done. I'm at the end. Y'all, think about it. For those of you that don't know, man, America is overseas fighting in a war. It has Black soldiers fighting in the war. Do you hear me? World Wars I and II, 4-star generals in the wars. 1 and 2. But because the Black soldiers are Black, we in the same war fighting the same enemy. Do you hear me? In the same war fighting the same enemy, but I can't fight with you. So the Black soldier has to fight in the Black segregated troop, but we fighting the same enemy. I mean, I want you to rationalize that if you could. Fighting in the same war against the same enemy, but can't fight with a white soldier because I'm Black. You got young people. Hey, leader, when you go into that classroom, you need to make sure that that's being taught. Tuskegee Airmen, not just flying and doing the job, but distinguishing themselves. Master fighters, master pilots. but because they're black, they can't fight with their white counterparts. When I go to Alabama to speak, the times I go when I'm near Tuskegee, man, I go right to Moulton Field. I have a channel on YouTube called Message to Your Son. I told you that last week. Just put in Principal Kafele and it'll take you to that link. And then go to my playlist and go to where it says Black History. And I made a video on the steps of Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. I made a video on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma. I made a video at the foot of the 16th Street Baptist Church. I made a video at North Carolina A&T in front of the Greensboro 4 statues and so many other places. But in this case, I made a video at Moulton Field. That's the airport where the Tuskegee Airmen were trained. See, they wouldn't even train them with the white pilots. I mean, wrap your mind around that for a minute. America's at war. Pearl Harbor's been bombed. And you got black pilots who are going to fight. They got their own fight in America. I mean, do the reading. Investigate American history, the African-American component of it in the 1940s. Study African-Americans in the 1940s and tell me what justifies them fighting a war overseas when they're fighting a war domestically in America to stay alive, right? Talk to me. Tell me what's in there that says they should be over there when they fighting a war of systemic racism, white supremacy in America. Talk to me. So now they're over there fighting a war in the sky. We're talking about the Tuskegee Airmen in the sky. Go see the movie. But can't fight with their white counterparts. Wrap your mind around that. And we're not talking about a long time ago now. We're talking 1940s. That's not a long time ago in the context of history. That's like yesterday. See? So that was number 31. What do I know about black participation in World Wars I and II and the Tuskegee Airmen? There's a whole lot more to say, but I think that's all I need to say. You guys can do the rest of the research. Look here, y'all. Those of you that hung in here with me till 11, I appreciate you. It's 11:40. It's 12:42. Oh my God, I talked for a long time, y'all. I'm not going to do that forever. I still got one more Black History session to do next week, and then we're going to get back on the first Saturday in March. I'm going to be doing a session on interviewing for landing the principal job. Although I have the video on YouTube already, I made it in 2017. I need a 2021. We're going to be the first Saturday in March. We're going to be talking about effective interviewing skills, technique, preparation for landing the principal job, right? That's first Saturday in March. I still got Black History to go for next week for the round out February. So let me say to you, here's an assignment, same as last week. What measures will I take to enhance my knowledge of African-American history? If you learn something new today, you got so much more to know. Because see, the stories are not just the ones in the books. Like my grandmother's story, that's not in the book. A lot of these folks have been posting, because I'm going to read all these comments as soon as I hit the end button. A lot of folks been posting their stories. Those stories are not in the books. You got people in your school who have stories. So the question is, are you tapping into them? You got people in your school, teachers and leaders, who are walking encyclopedias relative to their own story. Do you tap into them? They should, the staff meeting. As much as some of the information being shared at the staff meeting may be, there might be a teacher on staff that just needs to talk about life in America through the past 3 or 4 generations to make you understand what it is to be Black, historically speaking. Right? You need to. It's just so much to know, so much to fathom, so much to understand. So I'm gonna wrap it up next week. Once again, if you don't have these, get them. Get them. Assistant Principal 50, Aspiring Principal 50. Like my Facebook page, Virtual AP Leadership Academy. I write a commentary every Sunday. Subscribe to my Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel, and make sure that you're wearing that mask with all these variants out here, and make sure that you are taking care of your body, diet, and exercise. I'm going out. It's 30 degrees out here. I guess I'm gonna do about 2 miles today, maybe 3. Right? Got to get it in. So make sure that you get it in. With that said, folks, again, I appreciate all of you that stayed on all this time, man. I just had to get this stuff out, man. It's important. So look here, you have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Now cock that fist back and count with me. 1, 2, 3. Bam! See you next week at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Tell a friend, tell a colleague to watch this video on YouTube. It's up right now. And then I'll see you live. Tell them to join me live. Tell them I want them to get this energy while it's live. It ain't the same when you watch the video. Tell them to get this energy while it's live. Get up. If you're on the West Coast, you out there in Alaska and Hawaii, just get up early and then go back to sleep when I'm done. I'll see you next week, folks.